Hi everyone, welcome, and today we are going to talk about the hair. And of course, right now we have sort of the face. We have the mask of the hair, but it needs to be worked on like quite a lot. So yes, for this tutorial, we will just be focusing on the hair, try not to touch every other part. So for now, just going to just duplicate the hair first in case I make it worse. So for hair, right now what we are lacking is certain separation in the hair, and I'm going to simplify the hair. I'm not going to draw like strand of hair like that, even though we can actually see it here a little bit. But in generally we want to sort of simplify the hair, and we can do the texturing of the hair later on. This way we can design the hair instead of worrying about the detail of the hair. So for now, we have this line right here. We have this front hair coming down from here. So what happened is that it will cast a shadow below the hair and probably the face too, but I don't want to touch the face for now. And then we have this strand of the hair, and then we have like this curl right here, right? I'm trying to glaze because I don't want this part to pop too much, even after adding the value, right? And then we can start designing hair around here. So we have a hair popping out from here, so it will cast a shadow below as well. So notice I'm just drawing the shadowy side of the hair, and yeah, we can always add the lighter part later on. So just treat it as like drawing anime hair or drawing cell shading on anime. That's how I'm generally going to render the entire hair. So just two values, this middle tone and this shadow value, and I'm going to go on. Yeah, we can worry about the shadow, the actual value later on. Right now we just want to differentiate where's the light and where's the shadow with clear value separation. At this point, you can also start crafting a nice shape with lasso tool. If you want to do with erasing, that's also fine, but I find that lasso tool is better. You can also set feather of the pixel, like 1 pixel would be nice, depending on how big your canvas is. This way it gives a little bit more fluidness and nature of like the translucency of the hair. I actually don't like this hair strand because I feel that it's too forced, so I either reduce it or remove it completely. Okay, we have this hand behind parts of the hair, right? So at this point we can actually also separate this hand, and this we can group it up and we put it behind the hair. And notice that there's another hair, like another part of hair right here. This is probably the front part of the hair, and then we have another part right here that is the back part of the hair. So we are further going to separate the hair as well. This hair is definitely behind the hand. This is the hand. Let's rename it. Let's lighten up the hair because the hair seems to be very strong in terms of value and chroma right now. Lighten it a little bit so that it doesn't take over the skin tone. And it seems like our skin is very dark right here. So what we can do is we can use an adjustment layer to adjust the skin tone, brightness and contrast. Clip mask, remember to clip mask, and then adjust the light of the skin. You can also adjust the contrast, but at this point I do not want to push the contrast of the skin because we are slowly adding the values in. We can do it later on. Sorry for drifting out of the hair again, but I want to make sure that the skin is good enough before we adjust the hair, because if not it will affect how the value looks on the overall as well. So generally our character have a little bit of curly hair on the end of some strands of her hair, so we can do that as well. So a little bit curly. Try not to introduce new value when you have not finished up the design of the hair. So yeah, just use whatever you have right now. because that we have enough values to play with, we have enough colors as well to play with. And generally what I'm looking for is flow. So our hair right now flow in a C shape like that, right? So we want lines to emphasize and enforce the shape of this C shape. So if I were to draw a curve like that, maybe we can add it at the end here, but if we add it here, it might break the flow of the entire thing. So we try to avoid breaking your own flow. So yeah, I'm just drawing shadow area that I think will appear on the hair. Designing it with thick and thin shadow would be nice. A lot of people tend to draw like shadow with one line and one line and one line. The problem with this is that our hair should have irregular shadow with thick and thin. So if let's say we have a hair that's like that and it casts shadow below, the shadow would start very small and very dark, and then it will slowly becomes faded as it goes, because what happened is that the hair on top, right, will be in distance and casting less and more softer shadow to the edges around it. So the darkest part should be at the thinnest area, like here. And so that's just an example of thinking about ambient occlusion and shadow all together. And yeah, make sure to experiment with thick and thin. Shape is very, very important. You also want places with rest, area of rest, like this part. You don't want to add another like line right here at this point, because if I do that, there will be a lot of detail like here, and generally you want to have area of rest somewhere on your drawing. And since the hair is curling, we can definitely be more expressive on parts of the hair. Yeah, and areas like in the shadow, generally you can avoid at this time, because you don't want to add details on places that's not that important. Probably this part might be more important. You want to prioritize drawing like details on places that you think people would audience would see. At this point, like I want this part to have area of rest, so I wouldn't touch it. And probably I want detail here, and then this part would be area of rest, so I want less detail here and more detail here. So if I were to make this part the area of rest, I will probably just have several strips like that, soft strips, so that there's nothing to really see. It just emphasizes the flow of the hair. Feel free to use softer brushes or brushes with softer edges for hair as well. You are not obliged to keep the shape so sharp at the end of the day. Of course, I am constantly also thinking of how to make the hair better instead of just following my character sheet. If I find that curly hair would look better, I would definitely add the curl to the hair. Yeah, there are parts that in certain art you have the freedom to change or to beautify certain art. And generally, yeah, my character, the Succubus character, just have horns, latex, pink hair, and generally other things that I want to change. I think she will still look like her, but probably just another rendition of her. So changing, don't be afraid to like try something new, even when you are referencing a character. Yeah, and sometimes you have to put your own taste into drawing a character as well. Okay, we do have some very nice shape already. Right now it's just okay. If you realize that the hair has like lines like here, around here, that actually indicates the fall of the hair. So you might want to also add that in, because if you didn't add that in, people would think that this is a flat hair strand. But if once you add that in, people will know that you are looking at the hair folding around, and that adds volumes and gives more life to the hair. And comparing colors right now, this hair is definitely more saturated. So what we can do is using sponge tool, set to saturation, and go over the part that you think needs a little bit more color. So in this case, it's probably the shadow that needs more color. I feel that there is not a proper transition or an ending to this part of the hair. So maybe I should remove or change some part of it. Like this looks better to me after taking out that part. So don't be afraid to remove parts that doesn't work in your drawing. Should it be curving down or should it be curving up? Let's try with like just several strands of hair coming. After we are satisfied with the hair, especially the shadow at the mid-tone, right now this is time where we can add some highlights on the hair. So there are several ways we can do this. One is to set the thing to color dodge and use a lighter color and start rendering. Oh yeah, this is one thing that I usually do is that I set the fill to 50% and you tend to get a better colors on the color dodge. When I'm using a BH color, if this is 100%, it looks white. But if you set it to 50% fill, you get to see the color of the highlight that you pick. And I am a big fan of this kind of gloss color. So definitely this is one of the way that I will do it. And for the sake of tutorial, I am simplifying how I render the hair. So this is definitely one way. You can always add in the detail that you want for the hair later on, like strands of hair, but for now I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about still the basic shape of the hair, the form of the hair too. Like this part of the hair is pointing towards us, so generally I want the part pointing towards us to be glossed up. This is how I render lighting by default. Things that faces us has will be more bright or shiny even. Yeah, try not to add too much gloss to your painting. It should only stand 10% of the surface area that you draw. So only add it to places that think you want to show detail. So like here, definitely this strand that is coming to the front is very important to us. Maybe the hair here would be important because coming to, and then this horn should go to the back of the hair. Same for the gloss here. What I just did was just duplicating the layer down instead of making a new one and set it to color dodge. That's several steps. So sometimes you can just duplicate and put the same layer property downward. That way you save a few steps of your time. Right now I think we can tone the background down a little bit because since we are adding gloss, we want to see in the darker background and then we can compare better. Maybe we can even like start giving it a little bit of color to the background, so we can set a little bit of mood to it. You can try to, yeah, at the end of the day you can either merge down and clean it up, or you can clean up in one passes. So I'm just simply demonstrating how I would add the lighting. So I'm not being as precise because I love to merge down and go over another pass again. So yeah, this is generally how I block in lighting, shadows, highlight to my entire painting. I hope you guys can get something away from. And yeah, notice I haven't add any detail to the hair, but the hair is already looking very interesting. That's simply because detail is not as important as shapes and flow of the hair. So yeah, be sure not to be too engrossed into detailing things when you have not set the base of the drawing. So it always goes in this priority, like shape, then light and dark, and then the details. And for the hair part, this is generally how I added. This is generally how I add light and shadow for the hair. And I think we can conclude the lesson for the hair. For the next part, let's move on to maybe the clothing. And I'll see you guys on the next lesson. Bye bye.